the message came in with something on it.
All right, Mary, are you ready?
I'm ready. So welcome to 2020 on trial, our session today. Before we kick in, if we can go to the next slide, just a quick reminder, and there's some animation. We have to click, I think, next to get, yep, the power, member power. So this is just a reminder, and if you haven't become that power member, which is a member of our chapter, as well as the national ATD, there are so many benefits to having that type of membership. We really encourage that you check that out. The other features and other little images on this screen are there to show you that when you do become a member of our ATD chapter, you become our Central Ohio ATD chapter, you become one that's got some great credentials behind it. We really try to make sure what we're doing is bringing excellent programs to our members and guests, and some of these credentials that you see on our website and that we received from our ATD National helps, I think, verify that with you and feel comfortable that what we're doing is aligned with what's expected of us as a chapter, and we're really proud of the things that we've achieved. I'm excited to turn this over, I believe, to Judge Snyder to kick us off. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mary.
I think the wig just makes it.
Well, I'm glad you enjoy it, because I know once I put this wig on, no more Ms. Nice Guy. I am now the judge and you are in my courtroom. And this is how it's going to work. First of all, I'm going to ask everyone except for the defense attorneys to turn their video off for this part of the program. We are going to present some evidence about 2020, and then you will all be asked to provide your own evidence in small groups. When we come back, we will vote on whether or not 2020 is the best year ever for talent development, or is it the worst year ever? We, the people, want to know all about 2020. That's what we're here for today. Presiding as the judge is me, Dawn Snyder. I'm the president-elect of this chapter. And we have two attorneys who are going to be presenting the case for 2020. We have Dick Feaster for the prosecution, and he's the one who's suggesting that talent development in the year 2020, it's the worst year ever. Dana Vogelmeyer, our president, is going to be taking the case for 2020 being the best year ever for talent development. Your role, you are the jury. So once our attorneys have presented their evidence, we will send you, as I said before, into breakout rooms where you discuss whether you think 2020 was the best year ever or the worst year ever for talent development. You do not need to reach agreement in those rooms, but to share your stories and network. Drinking is heavily encouraged in this courtroom. And with that, we will go on to begin the case against 2020. For the defense, is 2020 the best year ever?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'd like to ask you to imagine yourselves in January of 2022. Think about what it's going to be like again when you are sitting around with family and friends and you don't have to wear a mask and you don't have to be physically distant from one another. You can go to concerts and movies and everything, anything that you've been missing. Now, while you're in 2022, I want you to sit there for just a minute and feel how good that feels. But I want you to reflect back on what it felt like in 2020. All the things that 2020 brought to us maybe sometimes didn't feel all that great, And I think part of that is because we were shoved into change. We weren't gently guided. We didn't have a change management plan. We were shoved into change and we had to adapt instantly. Many fields and industries were upended, and some in a good way and some in a very bad way. For the learning industry, we became in higher demand all of a sudden. Why? Because we had to help people learn how to do their jobs differently. Sometimes it felt like even overnight or with just a couple of days, not much preparation. It was really instant. There was new technology for them to learn and new ways to do their jobs. And because we could help them, L&D became even more valuable. So I feel as though 2020 was not a bad thing for the learning and development industry. This thrust forward showed our value like nothing else ever has. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dana Vogelmeyer, for the dissent. Now we're going to hear from Dick Feaster to tell us why 2020 is the worst year ever.
Thank you, Your Honor. And by the way, I appreciate your suggestion. I was just going to put on a clean t-shirt, but you suggested adding coat and tie, so I did. So I appreciate those helpful hints, Your Honor. And I think, as you suggested, drinking is encouraged here, and I think my learned colleague has started early based on her arguments to begin with. Let's look at some reality, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Let's start off with technology. The pandemic hit us, and boom, people are working from home at almost immediately. In many cases, we don't have the tech that we need to make that transition in learning and development. We try to get it. IT may or may not okay us obtaining new technology that we need due to very good reasons: security, cost, maintenance, all those things that they have responsibility, but it's still a roadblock to us. If we have the technology, we may not be able to access it because of restrictions on security. There may be legal issues or HR issues on how that technology can and cannot be used because of the communication efforts. IT may not turn on all the features for us, so we're working with one hand tied behind our back in a lot of those cases. Then there are also issues out of our control or out of the participants' control, such as the equipment that we're dealing with. What speakers, what headphones, microphones are they using, the quality of those? How does that impact the communications and the training that we're trying to do? Headaches that we had more control and time to deal with in the past. Then there's also, because of working from home, the transition very quickly to virtual instructor-led. Many face-to-face courses have to now be done virtually. We can't take the time. They have to keep going without stopping. But now we've got to transition to those. And as you know, it's not just putting a camera in front of the instructor. It's a different animal. Redesign aspects need to be taken into consideration. What about all those interactive exercises that work so well? How are you going to fill that time and replace those experiences virtually? It's not an easy turnaround. Then there are things like the facilitator needs a host with a lot of this training now to carry on answering the technical questions or monitoring the chat while the facilitator concentrates on their job too. Breakout rooms. Do we have breakout rooms? If we do have breakout rooms, how do they work? How do we get people in and back and communicate? A whole host of questions. Even something as simple as whiteboards. I've had the experience where we said we have access to a whiteboard and we pulled it up and basically you can draw on it, but there was no text, no annotation to it. So you can't make assumptions about any of the technology that we think we can turn around and use. Then we and the participants have to learn how to use it. How do we access the technology? What are the processes? As I mentioned, adding hosts. How do you utilize and maintain the chats? Mute everybody, unmute people, creating hosts and non-hosts within the system, sharing control. Not only is that frustrating for us and difficulties for us to work through those, but it's frustration on the learner's side. They've got a lot to deal with and they can feel frustrated with all this technology that they now have to somehow get their heads around just to get the learning that they need to do their jobs in today's world. That is why, just one reason, 2020 is the worst year ever for learning and development.
Worst year ever. Oh my gosh, what great points. Dana Vogelmeyer, what do you have to say to that?
Well, I think 2020 was the best year ever for the learning and development professionals. We are the people who help others perform their jobs. And at this time, think about these last 9 months that we've been experiencing in 2020, leaders needed new skills to help themselves cope, but also to help their teams cope with all of the loss that we are experiencing or have been experiencing in these 9 months. They needed new skills or skill enhancement in helping to connect with people and build relationships and empathize with team members over new things we've never experienced before. We're the people that can help them do that. We think about all the loss that we have experienced. We have had losses of people losing their jobs. Some people might still be left behind and they're grieving the loss of just not having the same coworkers that they had before. They miss them. People who worked in an actual building in a physical location are feeling loss of not being able to go there every day and have some of their normal rituals. Maybe it's the coffee that they usually have in the company's cafeteria or something, but also just being around their colleagues and people that they could ask questions to and having other resources at their fingertips. That was a loss. They may have experienced sickness themselves or with people in their family or their friends circle. This was a new sickness and it impacts everyone differently. So being able to empathize with your colleagues or people on your team as a leader, these are new skills that they maybe have not had to utilize very often, especially not in the way of a pandemic. It's scary and ambiguous. We need to help equip leaders so that they can help their teams through these issues. And then remember in the summertime, speaking of losses, we all witnessed a loss. And then we saw a protest for the Black Lives Matter movement. That was a loss that, again, companies, while they're already dealing with the pandemic, brought their leaders and teams and their learning professionals together to start talking about some of these difficult issues. Without learning and development, that would have been much more difficult to do. So this kind of training, as you all know, this is not one and done type stuff. There needs to be multiple conversations, different applications, tools and resources to help these leaders connect with their people. And we help them learn. When they can do this and they demonstrate care, empathy, they have good listening skills, they build great relationships, which in turn builds good loyalty for the company and the employees. And people want to feel safe. And part of this scary and ambiguous part of not knowing what's going to happen next, leaders need to help build psychological safety in the work environment. That's where L&D professionals come in with that content, with advice and resources. That's adding value. Thank you.
Empathy and listening. Who needs those? Let's go on. 2020. Why was it the worst year ever? Dick.
Well, I must say my honored opponent makes some very good points. There were a lot of things that people are dealing with, and they turn to us to help learn the skills that they need. But let's be honest. We were, in many cases, overloaded with work. I was, you were. There is so much that needs to be done in the L&D area, and we had our hands full. And now, boom, again, the pandemic hits, and we have all these other issues that are coming up and all these skills that now people want in addition to the normal work now. The stress that creates is amazing. And the learners are in the same position. They've still got to do the learning for their day job and keep the lights open and keep that work moving forward, but also now to deal with these other skills that they need and how to deal with all the other things that are happening throughout the world is just bringing new levels of stress that we haven't had to deal with before. And they need to know how to utilize this in this new environment of working from home and working remotely. How do they communicate? How do they collaborate to keep the processes still moving? And as I mentioned before, the technology to do that, which many of them maybe had not used before or resisted using before. But they're looking to us to teach them how to do those things, those new skills that they want. And do we have the training on hand? Do we have job aids created for those things? In many cases, not. So again, we're adding to the workload and the pressure that we have to get things out of there and still make it quality and user friendly, because people need to turn this around very quickly. They need to put it into use and effect now, not in 3 or 6 weeks down. And then you've got the stress and the limitations from the work from home environments too. You have to deal with things such as internet speeds. Even if your company has the internet, your processes and your IT ready for that, if your internet provider locally is a smaller one, they may not have the bandwidth now. They have the whole neighborhood working from home, which they never had to deal with before. Kids playing games through the summer, kids right now accessing school, all the while people in the community are accessing work. And in many of those providers, they cannot keep up with that. We're having difficulty. Again, more stress, more frustration, because it's hard to use the tools that we do have available when the internet is limited. And then there's frustration in some cases with how much can IT support when there are problems, when there are issues. Can they really meet all the needs of our learners out there as they're trying to deal with this more stress piled upon stress upon stress? And then, of course, there's within their own home environments dealing with the environments that are going to impact how they interact in their daily work and also in the learning. Things like dealing with the other partners in the house. If the partner is working too, using the resources, finding rooms that are usable so everybody can work. Children and the needs that they have, pets, deliveries as we binge buy because we're so bored from being home. Every 10 minutes, there's somebody knocking at the door delivering food or gifts or whatever, it seemed good at 3 a.m. in the morning. Repairmen that are coming in because we can get these things done now because we are home, but that interrupts our daily work, our learning. Again, so much stress. And in many cases, they turn to L&D to help, and we are overwhelmed and stressed too. It just creates a very, very bad year. That's how we can describe 2020.
We have time for one more point from each of you. Dana Vogelmeyer, please.
When all of the learning and development professionals stepped up to bring all of these new and immediate resources and different types of training solutions that were needed instantly, it showed value and also opened the mind to a lot of things that maybe had been said no to in the past. They were things that we maybe could have made all the business cases in the world and never got approved, but now everybody sees things differently. L&D has wanted different and new technologies for years and years. We've been trying to get them in. Now is the time if you want to strike while the iron is hot. For example, a recent article on td.org by Kelly Ryder says that all of those technologies like things of the internet, AR, VR, and AI, these are the fourth industrial revolution to make our work so much easier. They add value. They help people know what to do. And participants can experience walking in someone else's shoes. This can help in a number of ways, not only with just how to do the job, but also learning about unconscious bias and blind spots that we all have. While these emerging technologies used to be viewed as cost prohibitive, or maybe we don't need that right now, so we're going to put our resources somewhere else, now everybody's open to talking about them because they see the need and the value that they can add to the organization. Enzo Silva is a senior learning architect, and he shared that the future lies on technology that can predict an employee's needs and address them with knowledge, connections, tools to help them even before they realize that they have a need. If we could have that type of technology helping people, imagine how much easier the workflow goes, a lot fewer mistakes, a lot fewer coaching needs, and the customer gets a better experience too. Change can be hard for some, and now that we have to try many things that we didn't see ourselves trying before, it opens the conversation to new and different types of technologies that can bring us into the 21st century learning. Some online things can feel a little weird, and people sometimes like to hide when they're online. But how we help with that and get people upskilled is our superpower. Thank you.
Your final point, Dick Feaster.
Let's talk about the workforce and how that's impacted L&D. With reductions in force in many areas, that means fewer people to do the work. That not only impacts us in our areas, do we have as many of our colleagues to take on the work, people doing less or more with less in their day jobs. Not only us though, but throughout the company. And what does that mean? That includes the SMEs, the experts that we go to, that we count on as we develop much of our training. They are doing more with less, which means they have less time to consult with us on the learning as we build it, to support the current learning that we have when we have to verify maintenance and updates and viability of training that's doing. And in many cases, they are facilitating, SME facilitation of many courses. And with less time to do that, less people to do that, that just makes it an untenable situation. In addition to, if they are then transferring to virtual instructor-led training, they've got to learn all these new techniques, the tools, and how do you operate within that new environment. And again, this is not their day job. And their day job is even getting more and more cumbersome. So those are all difficult things. Associates are dealing with that too, the employees, that they are learning how to consult, how to work, how to do their jobs. And again, they're doing more with less. But with all of that on the other side, there are still new hires that must be brought into the company. We have to do onboarding. And how do we do that? Remotely with remote employees. And a lot of that onboarding is creating relationships. How do we make that happen in this new world, in this new environment? And which means all of this is impacting us. Do we have to redesign or recreate or start from scratch with the whole onboarding process and still make it impactful? And even more impactful with the stress of a new person coming in these types of times. You know, I think if we look at it from a reality standpoint, there is no doubt 2020 has been the worst year ever for L&D. Thank you.
You guys have both given us so much to think about. I've been waiting for someone to mention the merits or the demerits of stretchy pants, and I didn't hear anything about that. I think we need to examine some more evidence. So what we're going to do now is take all of our participants. I invite everyone to turn your cameras back on. Turn your cameras back on, please. We're going to put you into breakout rooms with about 4 people. And you're going to tell your story. How has 2020 impacted you this year? So make sure you introduce yourself and make your case about whether 2020 was the best year ever or the worst year ever for you. There's no need for you to come to agreement or reach a consensus, because when the breakout ends, we'll come back together and vote as a group, a large group, whether 2020 was the best year ever for talent development or the worst year ever for talent development. Before we put you into breakout rooms, does anyone have any questions of the judge? Okay, Bailiff Mary Shank, will you please put the jury into breakout rooms so they can share their evidence?
Creating those rooms as we speak, Judge.
And if I might say, just on coaching, when you're in the breakout room, I believe each person comes back to the main meeting on their own by selecting leave the breakout room and return to main meeting.
Thank you, Joe. We'll make
Just
you
in
an
case,
honorary bailiff.
just in case.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So I need to open all rooms. Is that what I need to do? I created them. Open.
Here we go.
Bye.
Mary?
Yes.
Okay, I just got a pop-up that says the host is inviting you to breakout room 3. Join her later.
Just don't click it.
Should I leave?
You can close
Yep.
it out.
Close it out. Gotcha. Cool. Nice job, Dana.
Nice job to you. Where did Dawn go?
Did she
I
go to
didn't
a
think-
breakout room?
She
So I
missed
guess
out.
maybe co-hosts do go. Let's see if I see her somewhere in there.
Yeah, she can leave if she.
Yeah, she's in a breakout room.
Okey doke. That was fun.
Now about those drinks she was mentioning.
Yeah.
My drink of choice.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
That's the end of the day look. Does that have a microphone?
My lighting's so bad in here.
Does that have a microphone on it too?
There.
Because do I sound clear to you all or not clear?
No,
Very
you sound
clear.
fine.
Okay. Some
How am
people
I
sound
coming across?
Very good, very clear.
Is it
Your
okay?
cam-
All right.
Your camera isn't as fuzzy as it was on our practice session either, so not sure what you did.
Oh, good.
Mhm.
I don't know. I shaved.
I have another meeting at 7 tonight too, you guys. I don't usually.
Wow.
I know. I don't usually have meetings that late, but that's how this one
Goodness.
worked out. That's when everyone was available.
Jeez. Oh,
So I'm assuming we can pull everybody back in too. I have the option to close them and that brings everybody back, so.
Yeah. And in there, when you very first set it up too, you can click, there's some kind of like an option.
Yep.
And you can make the room for like 5 minutes and it'll.
Yep,
close
I
the
saw
room.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mary, do you have your camera off? Because when you're speaking, it goes to a screen with just your name on it.
I was told to take my camera off, so
Oh, okay.
Oh, you can come back on.
I could come back on.
Do you guys, either one of you have you had any conversation about when you may go back to the office?
We were told originally October, and then they're saying January, the second week of January, with the caveat that they'll continue to look at what's happening in statistics and CDC guidelines. I'm not putting any money on we're going back in January with this spike happening right now. No.
No.
What about
Dawn,
you?
I think, or Dana, I think I'm permanent remote worker.
Okay.
Yep.
How do you feel about that?
It's been pushed back to the summer. And then we're just because I'm not making the case for either for or against. Because we've realized that people can perform in remote environments. And we can probably save some money on renting space by doing that. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
we're not sure what the percent will be, or if that'll happen for sure, but no date of when I'm going back.
My husband works at Discover,
Wh-
and right now they're saying if all works out, maybe June, but it's a soft date.
Mhm.
Mhm.
When they're talking about bringing us back at Nationwide, they're talking about a week in the office and a week at home, and have two groups and they'll alternate. My only problem is I've got my laptop and I brought 2 monitors with me.
Mhm.
I don't really want to be lugging those back and forth, but
Mhm.
I am so efficient with them that it would be difficult. Although I'll be honest, I never thought I'd be a guy that likes to work from home, but I'm liking this.
Mhm.
I can get used to it. I have so much more time at the end of either ends of the day.
Oh,
And taking a break here instead of going down to the coffee shop and buying something, I'll put a load of laundry in or something, which gives me that much more time in the evening. And
Yeah,
uh, you know,
that's exactly what I was going to
I'm
say.
not looking forward to going back.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say about doing laundry. Like, I mean, sometimes just it's a silly thing, but even like when I remember sometimes to take something out to thaw,
Mhm.
I can hear and I can do it.
Mhm.
It is kind of nice.
Right.
So I had heard that Nationwide was maybe going to have less overall space. But I didn't, it was on Columbus Business or in the Columbus Business First newsletter, but I didn't know how all that would look. Yeah.
Well, they had, when this hit, it accelerated something which I guess was in the works anyway. There are a number of locations throughout the country that they were talking about making permanent work from home anyway. So when the pandemic hit, they say, yeah, you're going home and you're not coming back, Harleysville and a number of places. Here in Columbus or not, but we have so many people, it's amazing. I'll walk down the street and somebody says, yeah, we got some people in that building. That it's just not the main Nationwide building downtown. It's so many. So I don't know if they're looking at pulling some of that back too or not. I don't know. I just.
Do we want to, it looks like we can
But
broadcast a message. I know when we did the practice session, Dick, we talked about getting everybody back at least 10 till. You want to give them like a 5-minute warning or 2-minute
yeah, that's probably
warning?
not a bad idea. That might be a bad idea. Not be a bad idea. Yeah.
It's like I can broadcast a message.
How long have they been in, Mary? Do you know?
About, I think about maybe 8 minutes, 10 minutes.
I think you could even bring them back maybe
Well-
at a quarter till. Do you think?
Yeah,
You want
'cause
to give them
how
like a
much time were we
2-minute
planning on
warning?
giving them? I forget.
20 minutes.
Oh,
20 minutes?
Yeah, it would seem like a lot, but let me give them
This
like a
depends on how
2-minute,
well
let
the
me give them like a
discussions go.
2-minute warning and we'll give them a generous too. How about that?
that's a good idea.
There you go.
We say warning. Yep.
Yeah.
Please return to court. This is a 2-minute warning. Please return to court in 2 minutes.
Oh, we got it too. I thought it would only go to them.
Yeah, I don't get it. So
Well, my niece, who is 31, and her boyfriend both just got COVID-19.
oh no.
She's been sick for about a week. She hasn't experienced any of those like breathing problems, but super fatigued, super tired, very achy, headaches, both of them. So she thinks, I talked to her today, that she might go back to work on Monday, but working from home.
Mm.
So, I hope so. Because when she first told me she had it, I thought, oh, please be a mild strain.
Are they here in
Yeah.
Columbus?
They're in Mount Gilead,
Mm.
like an hour north of here.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
I used to live up that way
Yeah,
for a lot of years. Yeah.
lived there her whole life.
Oh my.
And she has a little girl that's 9. So the little girl hasn't gotten it. She's doing fine. But that's hard to
Oh, good.
keep yourself distanced in the house,
Mm.
Mhm.
for a child that
Yeah.
age.
Mhm.
I don't know. But have you guys
It's been
have you
about
been-
2 minutes. Should I You guys feel this is enough? I know this is a little less than what Don was planning. I'm gonna give it the next 60 seconds. I'm gonna pull them back in 60 seconds.
Well, and when you hit
There you go.
end, like to come back, it tells them they have 60 seconds.
Oh, so I'm gonna do that right now.
So they know that it's time.
Yep, I just see that little warning. All breakout rooms will close in 60 seconds. And then by the time we get everybody together.
So when they do that, does that pop them back here automatically, or do they have to manually come back?
It'll bring them back automatically. Or they can come back before 60 seconds on their own. But if they wait till the very end, they'll come back. There's Steamer.
Here they come.
But
Here. Yeah, I got put in the room with Russell. Really? Like I couldn't stop.
It was random, Seema.
And that would be bad because what are you saying?
Nothing at all, honey. Nothing at all.
funny.
That is funny, being random and it still stuck us together. That itself is that's telling in itself.
Were you guys in agreement with your issue or no?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're all.
And we normally are. We really do think alike. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but you know.
Seema's telling jokes.
Oh, me, I'm always telling jokes, you know.
Putting you on the
Victor,
spot.
Wow.
Your tie has moved.
Yeah, I was getting tired of it around my neck, but I said I'd
You've
wear a
gone
tie,
into
so I'm
Rambo
wearing it.
mode.
There you go.
Someone's
This is my 60s era thing.
definitely. At least you understand what it is and you haven't just sort of gone AWOL.
Yeah.
Everybody wave.
It comes in
You
handy
know
too.
what? Can everybody wave? I want to take a picture of everybody.
Oh, good idea.
Ready?
Up, wave. Thank you.
I don't know where I can get everybody. I see you, Bonnie.
Good idea, Dana.
I'm in the background of you, Bonnie.
Okay, I've lost everybody.
Uh-oh.
We were watching you earlier in the breakout room
Yes?
because we could see you behind Bonnie. He can't hear.
I'll go over there and work with them.
How come I can't see anybody? I see you walking around.
Okay, I'm trying to share my slides since we're back together, but I'm having a little bit of a challenge here. One moment. Let me try it one more time. Ah, here we go. All right. You've had a chance to screen sharing has failed to start. So let's just keep moving on without it. You've had a chance to discuss whether 2020 was the best year ever or whether 2020 was the worst year ever. And I heard some fabulous stories and examples from both our defense attorney and our prosecuting attorney, and then in the breakout room that I attended. So now I think it's time to ask you to vote. What do you think? Were you swayed by what other people showed you? Or do you have a different opinion? What do you want to share? Mary, can you raise that poll for us so that we can vote whether 2020 was the best or the worst year ever? So the poll should be in front of you.
Yeah, I know how to do this, Bob.
You are now viewing your questions. Go ahead and vote.
Judge, we're waiting for two more. One more.
One more, it's your chance to weigh in.
We have 92% voted.
All right, I think we'll have to go with that. I suspect the rest of it are we moderators who don't see.
I'm going to share the results.
Oh, my.
Well, good for the group. That's wonderful for all of the rest of you.
What a surprise.
You better than
Mary, I'm not seeing any results.
Might be that we are hosts. I think
Try your-
other people
Oh,
see the
okay.
results,
Yeah, we
right?
can
Thumbs
see
up
it.
that you see.
Okay.
So let me run it down.
I can see it.
The
too.
results are 67% are for best. 33% are for worst.
I'm going to ask for a recount, and I have some lawyers standing by. Just want you to know that.
Where'd you get that idea?
Todd, you
Yeah,
said
you
it
know-
surprised you. Why'd you say that?
Right, it's all those
What's
people
that?
that mailed it in a few weeks ago. That's what the problem is.
Todd, I wonder,
congratulations. Oh, sorry.
I was just wondering why, Todd, you said you were surprised. Why did you feel surprised when you saw the results?
Well, it just seems so obvious that it was the worst year ever because of everybody's griping and complaining about it. Even when you're talking the positive, I mean, Dana was saying all this negative stuff as a precursor to our positive point.
I see, and I'm completely the opposite end. Like I think, I mean, I know a lot of bad things happened, but I think some really good things came out of that would have never happened but for this happening.
And
maybe the
and I even flopped on mine since the judge allowed us to do that. I came in myself into my pod group with one direction, and then I switched after hearing everybody.
now I would say I voted that it was the best year ever, but having said that, I would never want to live through it again.
Excellent point.
Another poll.
Yeah.
Another
Yeah.
poll.
Oh, wait a minute. We
lot
just
of
found
votes
some more
against.
ballots.
More ballots are in.
Yeah, there were ballots here, so we'll have
No,
to reach
no,
back.
stop. Stop.
Well, you got it. Wasn't the question whether it was the best year for training?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I should say talent development?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, that's the thing, because otherwise, no.
Yeah.
Talent development, yeah, maybe.
yeah.
Good distinction, Joe.
Show that, especially for companies, hey, this work from home thing does really work. We can be successful. You know,
Right.
for technology, learning technology, it was like a boom, you know. We had just gotten our LXP degree in May, and in June, this hit. We were able to launch training like within a day, you know, around unconscious bias and COVID and working from home. Like, we're launching learning pathways every day for the different things happening in the world. So technology wise, I think it was a good year. Personally, it was a horrible year for me, but technology wise and work wise, it was a good year.
I think it moved some things forward because a lot of people who you had to argue the point that we need to move forward on things, they didn't have a choice now.
Right.
They were there, and so it kind of made our argument for us. So I think it helped in a lot of cases like that.
Right. No business case needed.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah,
Right.
I did hear at one point this year, a few months ago, that the Zoom company was valued, I think it was $70 billion stock value.
It's been a good year for them.
And the stock value of the major airlines in the United States combined equaled 70 billion.
Oh, wow.
So huge shift in investment there.
So I shared this in my small group, but I've seen a lot of language that we in talent development were the first responders because we had the skills, we had the tools to get to people who weren't sitting maybe in the same room with us. And that put us in a unique position to really demonstrate that value proposition.
It helps if you know how to do this.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, even something as simple as moving people work from home. We were one of the first people impacted by that by saying, hey, we need to give people some tips. How do they work from home? How do they set things up? How do they arrange their day? Let's create some job aids, some training, some things for that. So almost from the get-go, they saw the value of training that, again, maybe they hadn't before too, but I think it brought it to the forefront.
I think we've converted Dick over to the other side.
Shh, shh, shh.
We won't tell.
Also, if you're involved in different groups, like there's this great one, Central Ohio ATD, and you can be more involved with more meetings with less travel. So it doesn't require much effort. A few clicks and suddenly you're there and you can attend more and learn more than in the past.
And if you become a member, you get to go to the SIGs too. That's a bonus, right? Tom?
Yes, going to different states, different chapters events. That's really a good point.
So I think that moves us back to closing our meeting and thanking everybody for coming. And I'll turn it back over to our bailiff, Mary Shank.
Yep, thank you, and thank you so much. And just on the screen, you see that we are, whether you were for or against 2020, we are wrapping it up. And we have a couple more events on our calendar for you to participate with, in addition to the SIGs. If you are a member or thinking about becoming a member, there's a lot of value in participating with our SIG groups, and you'll find them on our website. Two things coming up. We are celebrating our Central Ohio Employee Learning Week, or Employee Learning Week, and we do have a great panel discussion coming up with our learning leaders. Learning leaders is a cohort of collective leaders across Central Ohio that have come together on a quarterly basis, I believe, to share ideas, talk about what we've been talking about today. So hopefully you could participate over your lunchtime on December 8th to participate and even ask questions of the panel. So it's going to be a great event. And then we will be having our year-end celebration that we've had in the past. Again, though, just virtually. One of the things that we're doing with that event, in addition to just having Dana Mogelmeyer host that, is bringing and participating in a Toys for Tot donation. Both of these, I believe both of these sessions are at no cost. I can't remember about the 8th one, but our year-end celebration is at no cost. It's the only cost is go out and get or virtually buy and have delivered to your home your Toys for Tots that you're going to donate, and be ready to show that. So look at both of those events, and we hope to see you there.
Thank you all. Thank you, Dana and Dick. A round of applause.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Good to see everybody.
Good to see everyone.
Yep.
Thanks.
This
good
was
night.
fun. Thank you.
Good night.
All right.
Good job, everybody.